just because I'm not too great at that, there must be something wrong with me. No, you know your life and you know what you've had to go through. And if for whatever reason that has been a part of your life that's not been too great, you know why. And also, you know that there's, it's an educational thing. So you can rectify that, whether it's night classes or whatever you got to do, especially if you're an adult. So that's today's topic, illiteracy amongst adults. I'm hoping that more and more people will come forward and just even if you do it nice and quietly, go and seek the help that you need, because there's another person I want to talk about today. And his name is Carl Foster, and he's an author, UK author. Again, we're going to share the links, aren't we, K Rose?
Yes, we are.
We're going to share the link. Now, when I found this link, I was like, okay, this is amazing to me, because he wasn't able to read and write, and he said it almost ruined his life. And he talks about his childhood and the things he went through. And he's become, from a disadvantaged background, he's become an author, an inspirational speaker. So see now, this is why I like his story, because only who feels it knows it, really knows it. And he can speak on it. And he's encouraging people to reinvent themselves, to discover their true potential and become successful. So we're going to share these links again. And he when he talks it, he talks the talk and he walks the walk, because he is self-made. So he has a book and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I wanted to bring that out, because there's so many people, and the reason I wanted to mention him as well is because he's a black man, and most, even to this day, I'm sorry, people might say again, oh, she's playing a race card, but it's true. It seems to be a lot more black, especially boys, that struggle with this reading thing. Do you remember the story? Is it Fame?
Yes.
Yeah, and one of the characters in there, the black guy, what was it? Was it Leroy? I think it's Leroy. I can't remember his name.
I remember the show, but I don't remember Leroy.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think his name was Leroy. But he couldn't read, and he was really destructive in his lessons and stuff. And he left school and he couldn't read, and then he went into the Fame Academy because he was a really good dancer, wasn't he?
Okay.
And they because I'm sure they've done a remake of that film, and it came about that he couldn't read and write properly, and that was like why he was so defensive and why he was always sort of like trying to not cause trouble, but just he was always getting himself into trouble because he couldn't concentrate, and it just turned out he was, and I just, anytime I see a story like that, I just think, oh. And I think he started getting help with it. And this author, because he's an author now. Imagine going from not being able to read and write to becoming an author and writing a best-selling book. So it just goes to show you, just because you couldn't do it before doesn't mean you'll never be able to do it. But you've got to put in the work and go back to school and say, right, this is where I am and this is where I want to be, and I'm going to make the steps to get there, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing that we had said. Those people who see that deficiency in their life, they normally are people who work harder than the average person.
Yeah.
And they grow up to be great people. Not to say that people that can read well aren't great people.
Yeah.
But, the people that have literacy problems, they have that to help push them and drive them to be the best they can be.
Oh, yeah. There's some people, when I was doing the research, again, I'll say, when I was doing my research, there were some famous dyslexics that I was like, wow, I didn't know. Jamie Oliver, I don't know if you know him. He's a well-known cook over here in the UK. People in the UK are going to know all these names. And I say, like, Zoe Wanamaker, I think she's an actress. Tommy Hilfiger, hello. Walt Disney, Albert Einstein, Winston Churchill. I had no idea that these people had been diagnosed with a form of dyslexia. I was like, really? I was just like, wow, there's a lot of people.
Well, and those are people that you would believe, especially Einstein, you would believe that, hey, well, his intelligence is this and his IQ is that. Well, he had dyslexia.
See, now it just goes to show you now, people, you can see it. So being intelligent, I'm finding that more so when you're dyslexic, sometimes your intelligence is even higher than average. And that doesn't take away from the fact that, you being smart. It doesn't say, oh, just because you can't read or write properly that you're not smart. I want to keep reiterating that, because people seem to think that, oh, that's it. I mean, there's so many links that we're going to share, we're going to take another break, but we have to take a break. Okay. But when we come back, we're going to share some more stories. So we will be right back after this. Hi, this is Avani. You're tuned in to the Ask Avani Show podcast on the Get Global Network.
No matter what you've done to me. See that seat to the left?
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Avani Show on SoMetro Radio. People, I hope you're enjoying the show today because there's just been so much I want to talk about. Today's topic has just been so interesting to me, and I'm hoping that you guys out there are, enjoying the show, listening. I remind you again what the topic is: illiteracy amongst adults. I wanted to know, does it leave people more disadvantaged, or can it be character building motivation? I mean, I don't know what you guys think out there. I mean, we've been talking about this for the last few hours, haven't we, K-Rose? And it's been interesting, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely. And we've gone, I think, the full gambit. We've started with younger people and why they may not learn to read for whatever the reasons, and parents being involved in it, or people that are caregivers for that person, all the way up to those people who are rich beyond belief. And they couldn't read or write, and still can in some instances.
Yeah.
But may be learning to do that, but still have attained, great financial wealth.
Yeah, so it just goes to show that just because you have this condition, whether it be dyslexia or anything else that's stopping you, whatever your reason for not being able to do it, read and write properly, that you can learn and you can be successful even if you don't have the formal education and being able to read and write, So I want to make sure that people out there are, I'm going to keep saying it, please, if you have this condition or you know someone that has problems with reading and writing, please go and get some help, go and talk to someone. And if you know someone, please support them to get help. And because life is too short. I love to read. I couldn't imagine not being able to read. And there's some more links, K-Rose, link 21, that I want to talk about. Too many people cannot read and write. This is a report that they're talking about over here in the UK. And they were saying that too few prisoners, if people are in jail, are learning basic skills. And that's probably what got them in jail in the first place, don't you find?
That's a beginning, definitely.
Because if you can't read and write, you're going to start getting yourself into all sorts of hot mess somewhere else, compensating or, thinking, I'm not going to bother with getting a proper education. I'm just going to do some stupidness, and that stupidness might end you in jail, which you don't want to be. You don't want to go there.
That is the problem. It may put you in a place that you can't control what you do, your freedom.
Yeah, you don't want to be there. You don't want to do that. So please, if you know someone who looks like they're going down that path because, education is not really working for them, please just try and steer them so that they don't end up in jail, because that's not a good look. And I notice some people as well, whether they can read and write or not, once they go into the jail system, sometimes that becomes like a revolving door.
Right.
Because it's hard for them to get away from the silliness, and we don't want that. So again, I'm going to say we're sharing all these links. These are just some of the stories that I have found, online in the course of my research for the show. And there's another one. Link 22, K-Rose. My mum can't read or write. This is a story that I thought, oh, wow. Imagine if your parent can't read. So it turns out almost that the child will end up having to be like the parent, because they're going to be the ones who's going to have to read all the mail. And they're going to have to be the ones who's going to have to say, Mum, we need to pay this bill, or Mum, we need to do this, Mum, we got to go here. Because they can read, and the mother's going to start relying on that child heavily to, tell her what's going on. And it's even worse if someone has a English or whatever is not their first language. They may struggle because of that reason, isn't it?
Well, you're putting your child in a position they really, it's not fair to them.
Yeah.
Because you're requiring them to do something that, again, you may not have learned for various reasons in your life. You may have had things that stop you from having an education beyond a certain point. Yeah. But even after you, certainly, hopefully, before you have children, you should have found the the need to educate yourself.
Yeah, but okay, now see that's another topic about the babies having babies. But anyway, we're gonna cover that.
I'm not even talking about babies. I'm saying, let's say they're 25 or 30 and they really are still functionally illiterate.
Oh, that's sad.
They should take some pains to learn, at least to get themselves to a point to where they can help those initial homework periods. Okay. I remember I was able to help my son with his homework, my older son, until he got into high school. And, then when the math kicked in to where it was calculus and different things that I hadn't done in years, it was like, hey, buddy, we're getting you a tutor.
Yeah. See, okay, you may not have been able to help him, straight away, with it. But you said, okay, well, we're going to make sure that you can do this. Because we're going to make sure that you can do this.
Right. I'm making sure you are educated enough. I feel comfortable with myself, and I can read and write and do a checkbook, but I'm making sure that, because school is you've got to be able to understand the subjects, period.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, with each different generation, there's different things. Like you said, calculus and all that. I'm like, oh. Over here, we had, what was it? Pythagoras' rule. Now, look, me and Pythagoras, we don't really need to be friends. I couldn't really get with him, I have to say. No, maths wasn't my strong point, but you better believe I taught myself to count my money.
Got to.
So that part I made sure I could do. I taught myself to tell the time. I taught myself to count my money. I found ways to work it for me so that I don't get cheated. I check my receipts when I leave a shop or wherever it is. I'm making sure that the money I gave over tallies with the change I got. I made sure, because there wasn't no one around to teach me that. So I said, okay, you're gonna have to step it up. You're gonna have to. I taught myself to tie my own shoelaces. So those are the things I taught myself to do. There are things you can teach yourself to do. Sometimes you just need a little help. And with the reading and the writing thing, yes, that's definitely going to be something you're probably going to need a little bit of assistance with. So I would say, yeah.
Well, it's more than just a little assistance. I think, it's just to function in society. And before the world had the internet, and before the world had cell phones, and before the world had the moving, the motored car, we're talking, there were ways to communicate back in the stone tablet hieroglyphics stages. You still had to be able to to decipher the hieroglyphics. I mean, come on. I mean, and that was a responsibility for the parents, and you're supposed to learn these things. And so, going back to the very beginning of the show, my point is that as a parent, and mentioning something we were just talking about, it's our responsibility to show the people that we bring on this earth, because hopefully we had a choice and we brought them to this world. It's our responsibility that they exist in this world in a hopefully simple fashion, just to help them to learn how to read. Okay.
Yeah. The basics. Give them the basics, and then they can run with that and do whatever they want to do.
Right.
But if you don't even give them that, I mean, that's a bit wicked, isn't it? Just for people to just say, oh, well, whatever, you just have to fend for yourself. That's a bit mean.
Well, calculus isn't the basics. And so,
no.
But I'm saying for myself, once he got to that level, it's like, hey, buddy, I want you to continue to learn, man, I'm getting you some help, because I can't even do differential equations. Well, this is it,
but that's what I'm saying. That's when you start getting to advanced education. I'm talking about the basics, i.e., read and write, and then if you love to do something, you probably will naturally want to take it to the higher education stage, isn't it?
Right.
But you should give them the building blocks, isn't it, from when they're small, so they've got that in place, and they don't have to be trying to catch up when they're sort of 20 odd, trying to do, because link number 23, K-Rose, educational experts query that we talked about this earlier. So again, I'm trying, because I'm so passionate about reading and stuff. It's been mainly talking about the good side of it, but there are people, as we discussed earlier, who query it and say, well, that don't exist. We're talking about dyslexia is not something that is a widespread problem. I disagree. So that's me playing devil's advocate showing. So we're going to post that link, because they're saying, well, is that really something that we should worry about? And I think it is, because if there's a condition that's stopping you, that's hindering you, then that's not going to be fun, and it's not fair, and you need help to overcome that so that you can fly, as Cara Toynton did with that massive, them Harry Potter books are serious. So, watching the films is one thing, but